Got it. So can we start now?
Yeah, we can start.
Yeah. So let me open questions. So you told you have overall 3 years of experience almost, right?
3 plus years in
Okay,
programming because
in
I work
programming.
because I worked in mobile as well in React Native.
Okay, then you must have good knowledge on it, right? Good experience on. I mean,
Yeah, kinda.
okay. By the way, do you work on front end only, or you have knowledge of back end as well?
Basically, I work mainly on front end, but
Mhm.
I had a chance to like work on a net. I mean, my personal like kind of interest. I worked on a backend stuff as well. I developed a CRUD application using
Mm.
Node.js, Express, MongoDB, Redis for catching.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so first I will start from the HTML questions, then
Mhm.
CSS, and then JavaScript. Okay, and then
Okay.
React.
Yeah.
So the first question is, tell me about the semantic tags in HTMLs.
Basically, semantic tag in HTML helps screen readers to find the main information from our website. Also, semantic tag helps developers to find the area of the code which is responsible for which part. So
Okay,
the first benefit is from screen readers. The second is from readability for developers.
okay, got it. Can you give some examples for it?
For example, header tag, for example, footer, section, article, aside, yeah, kind of this.
Hmm. Okay, good. Let's move to the CSS. Do you know about pseudo classes and pseudo elements?
Mm, can you elaborate more about it? Maybe I knew how to use it from pseudo. It's a
You
kind
must be
of nesting. You mean nesting? Yes.
no, 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 no. You must be using it, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But the term that is named, it is called as the pseudo classes and pseudo elements in CSS. Have you heard
Uh,
about it?
no, the first time from you. Yeah.
Okay, then I will tell you about
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Actually, pseudo classes are if you used hover, active, visited. Have you used
Ah.
it?
Yeah. Basically, mostly hover. Ah, yeah. Two columns. And you were right. Yes, this. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. Visited. For example, in when we are using, for example, a lot of childrens, we can find n's child, the last type of kind of stuff. Yeah, I use it. Yeah.
Right, right. So these are the pseudo classes, and in
Ah,
pseudo elements there are two columns. Like if you have used before, after, have you used it?
before after, yes, I use it for adding the element before or after something. Yes, for example, mostly it used for symbols, adding symbol.
Right, right. So
Mhm.
these are called pseudo elements, and I already told about pseudo classes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So basically, Roshan, the pseudo elements are before and after, and pseudo classes are however visited this. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
To remember in easiest way, you can tell like in pseudo classes there is one colon, and in pseudo elements there are two columns
Ah.
we use.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
before in and after we put two columns before it. I mean
Okay.
after any element.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Next, uh, let's move to the. Okay. Do you know about the meta tags in a website?
What text?
Meta.
Meta text, yeah, meta tags are these are informational tags for website. For example, meta tag used for describes the after of the website. It's useful for search optimization. It's also used for encoding while critical rendering path. So yeah, kind of this informational side of the website.
Okay, that's good. Okay, next let's move to the JavaScript questions. So tell me about the difference between arrow function and normal function.
Basically, arrow function does not have its own context, so that's why we cannot use. We can use, but it's not recommended to use as a method inside object. Basically, and we cannot. We shouldn't use basically for apply, call, and bind. And arrow function cannot be used as a constructor. Arrow function does not have its own arguments list. Like in a normal function, we do have array-like object which called arguments for accessing properties that function is accepting. Also, in generator functions, we cannot use arrow function uh, because of I don't know there was a reason I forgot about reading, but we cannot use inside generator function. And
Okay,
yeah, we cannot also use a super keyword inside arrow function. Yeah, basically
arrow
this.
function.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. What are the difference between map, filter, and reduce?
Map will return new array. Filter will be no, basically map will iterate through our elements and will return new array. Filter will based on condition filter our array and return new array. Reduce will like how to say shrink down, or how to say combine. Mostly I used for addition, for adding like array elements for
Reducing
calculation.
the.
For calculation.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, that's fine. Do you know about the callback hell?
Callback hell when you are calling the function inside function. Yeah, this is kind of callback hell, and in order to avoid it, we will use basically promises,
Mhm.
which helps us to avoid the callback hell because of .zen method, like because of chain promise chain we have. That's why it's helpful to avoid
Okay,
it.
good, good. What is hoisting?
Hoisting is basically hoisting refers to the behavior of the compiler in JavaScript. So hoisting is not related to the language itself. So this is a metaphor for describing the behavior of the hoisting. So hoisting is a process of allocating memory for function and variable declaration prior to the execution of the code.
Okay, got it. Can you give any example if you know?
For example, you declared yes, you console logged some variable,
Hmm.
and you didn't like create the variable on the top, uh, but you create it on the bottom, for example, as a var, and yeah, it will be like console log and show the result. And there is a difference between var let and cons while they are hoisted, and
Hmm.
when you are also working with the hoisting, yeah, yeah. Basically, when you hoist, it means your variable will go to the top, your function will go to the top, and for example, in case of var, it will be initialized with default value undefined, while in let and const, it will not be initialized with any value, and it will stay in a temporary dead zone, and when you are calling function, it will be exist there on the top, and it will not throw an error. I mean, the hoisting helps us to say that there is something on top, but its value is currently not available, or such thing.
Okay, that's great.
Mhm.
So I have also explained about the late and constant. That's what I was expecting actually.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Next, let's move to the okay, another JavaScript question. That is,
Mhm.
what are the difference between the virtual DOM and the real DOM?
Basically, Real DOM is, as we know, the real DOM, but virtual DOM is basically the copy of our virtual DOM. Real DOM. The virtual DOM is a copy of a real DOM. Why this virtual DOM was introduced by this our current frameworks like libraries? Because directly working with the real DOM is costly, because it will always re-render the screen. While when we are working with virtual DOM, we're working with virtual DOM, which is a copy of the real DOM, and when we make a changes inside virtual DOM will go and compares with real DOM. If there is a change, it will only change that part that was changed, and it will reduce amount of interaction directly working with the real DOM.
Okay, that's good. What is event loop?
Basically, event loop is a life cycle of waiting for function to perform. For example, in event loop, we have phases. The first phase is call stack. When you, for example, run a function, it will go to the call stack, and it will run executed. If it's asynchronous function, it will go to the web API, and it will execute it there. And after executing in a web API, it will go to the stack queue. And after the stack queue, it will go again to the call stack and again execute it. So this is an event loop in general.
Okay, so let's suppose there are two things. One is promise, okay, and
Mhm.
another one is set timeout. Okay,
Uh-huh.
in set they are in timer there is zero. We put if we put the zero there, and we
Mhm.
put the console log inside both. So which one will execute first?
The promise will be executed first, then set timeout, because in JavaScript we have a micro and micro tasks. Based on this, the promise will be executed first.
Okay, great. Okay, and next, do you know about the hooks in React?
Hooks, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, hooks, yeah.
the hooks.
Mm. Hooks basically use state, use layout effect. These are hooks, which like was introduced in React for
Mhm.
simplifying the task in functional components. I guess how I can define it, how I can explain it, I don't know.
Okay, okay, leave it. What is a pure component?
Uh, Pure component is when the component is depend on the props that it receiving. So it will not depend on the global object on or another thing. So the function which solely changes from the props or parameters, yeah, from its receiving. It's like this.
Just tell me about the control and uncontrol component. Do you know about it?
Yeah. By the way, control it and control it. I forgot about
Con-
this. Yeah, I knew about like input is controlled. Maybe, yeah, it was like this. I forgot about this topic. Yeah, I can't answer right now.
Input is controlled by ref, that is the
Yeah,
uncontrolled component. And if
yeah,
we
yeah.
handle it, use state, or I mean, yes, use state hook, then it is a control component.
Oh, okay.
What is HOC, higher order component?
Higher order component is a component which is receiving a component.
Okay, can you give any example for it?
Um, higher order component. If, for example, when
In React, have you ever used?
yeah, yeah, for example, maybe Redux, when you are in no.
Mm,
For
in Linux,
authentication, no, 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 no. Basically, if I'm not mistaken, we used in authentication while we also implement authentication in our project. I guess it was a higher order component that we used.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in Redux, if you have used the connect,
Yeah, yeah. Got it. Yeah, connect. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I,
that's also.
mhm.
Okay, so tell me about the this keyword in JavaScript, how it works.
This queue?
This keyword.
This context. Okay, this refers to the context of to the context. Yeah, this refers to the execution context. So if you console log the this in browser, it will refer to the Windows object. But when you are creating inside an object, it will when you are calling, it will refer to the object that we are calling this. So this is basically this is a context of execution.
Tell me the difference between the call, bind, and apply.
Basically, all of them do one thing. They will change the current execution context. But
Mhm.
when you are doing bind, you should call the bind. I mean, it will not. It will just change the execution context, but it will not call. So I mean, it will return you a function, but you should call the function again. While call will execute. It will change the base context and it will execute the code. And apply also, it will change the execution context and it will run the code. Yeah, basically run the code. But there's the difference between call and apply. The call receives arguments, number of arguments as a string, while apply receives arguments and it only receives two arguments and one of them is always array. Yeah.
Okay. And do
Yeah.
you know drilling? Do you know?
Yeah, drilling is when you are passing the prop to the children, but the children which is not requiring these props will keep it as a props. So in order to avoid drilling, we basically use context or Redux state management system. In Vue, we will use Prolite inject or Vuex as a store management, state management.
Okay. By the way, how can you pass? I mean, the data from child to the parent component in ReactJS?
Uh, Using props or
No,
um,
using props, you can pass the data from parent to the child, right? But how
mhm.
can you pass the data from child to the parent component
Maybe with Redux state management
without
or
Redux?
without Redux, maybe you will pass a parent function to the child and you will take props from the child and execute on the parent like this, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
By the way, like, can you tell me something about the Redux, how it works, and what is Redux? Why do we need it?
Redux is basically state management system for controlling for basically actually UI in general is divided into two like separate worlds, the user interface and BLL, business logic layer. So business logic layer is where our data is stored. So for UI, it's a React responsible for data. For data is responsible Redux. So Redux is where our data will be, and it works based on Flux architecture. So
Mm,
actions will be called, and actions will trigger the reducers, and reducers will fill our state, and it will goes around like this. Actions, reducers, and store will be changed based on reducer.
okay, got it. Do you know about the life cycle hooks in React?
Yep. Basically, in React lifecycles divided into three phases. The first one is mounting, then updating, and then third one is unmounting. In updating phase, we have a three function, but there are also a static function methods. Three methods, and we have a static methods which are rarely used. That's why I'm telling the main three methods. The first will be called the construction method. Second one a render. Then third is component did mount. In updating phase, we have a render and component will update the methods. In a third, unmounting phase, we have only one method, which is a main method. Component will unmount. But in modern functional components, we can, using a use effect, replace component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount only with just the use effect